Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into innovation
Yeah.
and more specifically, the different roles that people play in making it happen.
Yeah,
We've got some great material to work with today.
for sure.
We're looking at audio excerpts from the book, The 10 Faces of Innovation,
Okay.
which is absolutely packed with intriguing real-world stories.
Sounds fun.
It is. Our mission is to try to extract some actionable insights from these stories.
Okay.
Ones that you can actually use, whether you're a business leader, an entrepreneur,
Wow.
or honestly, just curious about how innovation really works.
Yeah, so much of the time we think of innovation as this like mysterious force,
Right.
but it's really just people
Yeah.
driving it.
Absolutely.
And each person brings their own style and approach.
Yeah. So the first innovator persona that we're going to dive into is the experimenter. Now,
Okay.
you might be thinking, well, all innovators experiment,
Okay.
but what sets the experimenter apart is their relentless drive to test ideas quickly and cheaply,
Yeah.
even if those ideas are rough around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I think that's so crucial.
Yeah.
Because experimenters really understand that it's so important to get the ideas out of their head
Yeah.
and into the real world as fast as possible.
Yeah.
It's all about gathering feedback,
Mm-hmm.
iterating and refining those ideas.
Mm.
And they don't get bogged down in perfectionism.
Yeah. The book actually gives a really interesting example
Oh, yeah.
of video prototyping.
Okay.
Even in like corporate settings where things can be pretty formal,
Yeah.
experimenters will use quick, sometimes rough videos
Mm-hmm.
just to communicate their ideas and get feedback.
What I think is really powerful about that
Yeah.
is it breaks down communication barriers.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just written reports or presentations,
Yeah.
they're using visuals
Yeah.
that are engaging and easy to understand.
Yeah, it's a different way to think about it.
For sure.
And the book had this great story about Danisco,
Oh, yeah.
which is a food giant. They make ingredients that end up in a ton of different ice creams.
Got it.
And they decided to invite a bunch of kindergartners
Okay.
to dream up new ice cream treats.
Huh?
What happened next was pretty wild.
I'm intrigued. What happened?
Well, they essentially let these kids loose
Oh, wow.
in a room with all this ice cream and ingredients.
Oh, my God.
And one of these kids
Oh.
came up with this idea for frozen jelly on a stick.
Okay.
And that simple idea sparked the creation of the lollipop,
Wow.
which is a non-drip frozen treat.
That's great.
That became a massive success.
That's amazing.
It's so wild how this simple idea from a kid
Yeah.
led to the successful product.
Yeah.
What does this tell us about innovation?
It really challenges our assumptions about where good ideas come from.
Uh-huh.
I think we often limit ourselves to
Yeah.
the usual suspects when we're brainstorming or problem solving.
Right.
But this story just shows how important it is to tap into unexpected sources of inspiration.
Yeah.
Embrace playfulness and be open to ideas from anyone,
Right.
no matter their age or expertise.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that leads perfectly into our next persona, which is kids as innovators.
Okay, cool.
And the book uses the example of SMS or text messaging.
Got it.
It was initially designed as a basic technical tool built into phones,
Yeah.
not really intended for everyday communication.
Right.
But then something pretty interesting happened.
What was that?
Teenagers and hackers got a hold of it,
Uh-huh.
and they started using it in ways the creators never anticipated.
Oh, wow.
They developed their own abbreviations and codes.
Really?
Yeah, it became their own secret language,
Oh, that's cool.
flying under the radar of adults.
Wow.
And what's so remarkable is how this user-driven innovation transformed SMS
Yeah.
from this like niche technical feature into a global phenomenon.
That is so cool.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And the book also mentions Virgin Mobile.
Okay.
They were actively involving young customers in their product development process. And they found that like teenagers were far more interested in uploading photos to their blogs
Yeah.
than using a built-in picture album
Oh,
on their phones.
interesting.
So they prioritized making uploads super easy.
That's a great example of observing how people actually use products and services.
Yeah.
Instead of relying on market research or just
Mm.
assumptions,
Yeah.
they went straight to the source.
Uh-huh.
And they got these valuable insights that informed their design choices.
It seems like a key takeaway here is that we shouldn't underestimate the innovative potential of younger generations.
Yeah.
They bring this fresh perspective and a willingness to experiment that can lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
I completely agree. There's so much we can learn from observing
Yeah.
how young people interact with technology and the world around them.
Mm-hmm.
They're often early adopters of new trends
Right.
and just have this intuitive understanding of emerging technologies.
Yeah, so let's shift gears a bit
Mm.
and explore the cross-pollinator persona.
Right.
This persona is all about connecting seemingly unrelated ideas
Uh-huh.
and bringing solutions from one field to another.
Oh.
They can really see the forest for the trees, so to speak.
They're thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
They're drawing inspiration from a lot of different sources,
Yeah.
making connections that others might miss.
And the book has some really vivid examples.
Like what?
Well, for instance, who would thought that the piano keyboard
Uh-huh.
would inspire the design of the typewriter,
Wow.
or that a gardener
Yeah?
using reinforced flower pots
Okay.
would lead to architects
Huh.
using reinforced concrete for structures like dams and even the Sydney Opera House?
That's incredible.
It's amazing how those seemingly unrelated concepts
Right.
can spark innovation.
Yeah. The cross-pollinator just has this unique ability
Uh-huh.
to see the patterns and connections that other people overlook.
Yeah.
They can translate ideas from one field to another, applying existing solutions to new problems in creative ways.
I love that.
Yeah.
To really see the power of cross-pollination in action,
Okay.
the book tells the story of Clarence Birdseye,
Okay.
and he's the guy who revolutionized the frozen food industry.
Wow.
And guess what?
What?
His inspiration came from a trip to the Arctic.
What?
He observed the Inuit people using this simple but effective technique
Uh-huh.
for preserving fish by freezing them outdoors.
So cool.
And he adapted that technique to create a frozen food empire.
Wow, that's a perfect example of cross-cultural observation.
Yeah.
And learning from unexpected sources.
It's amazing how a simple observation in one context can
Yeah.
lead to a transformative innovation in another.
Totally.
And what I find really interesting is that modern companies like Procter & Gamble
Uh-huh.
have intentionally built cross-pollination into their innovation strategy.
Wow.
Like, think about Crest White strips.
Okay.
They combined their knowledge of safe whitening agents from laundry detergents with their expertise in oral hygiene.
That's smart.
And they did it again with Mr. Clean Auto Dry.
Oh, yeah.
They combined water purification technology from their Pure division
Okay.
with anti-spotting expertise from their Cascade dishwasher detergent.
Wow, so they were just intentionally trying to
Yeah.
cross-pollinate,
Yeah.
and it worked.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And these efforts have contributed significantly to their business growth.
That makes a lot of sense.
It seems like a key takeaway for our listeners is that they don't need to reinvent the wheel.
For sure.
There's this wealth of knowledge and expertise out there
Right.
just waiting to be tapped into and applied in new and innovative ways.
Absolutely. It's about looking beyond the boundaries of your own industry
Yeah.
or your own discipline
Right.
and seeking inspiration from diverse sources.
I love that. And the book shares how IDEO,
Oh, yeah.
which is this renowned design firm, has become a powerhouse of cross-pollination. They've evolved from traditional product design
Right.
to tackling challenges in healthcare,
Right.
service design, and much more.
Wow.
What are some of the key ingredients that have contributed to their success?
Well, they've created an environment that fosters cross-pollination.
Uh-huh.
They have regular show and tell sessions
Okay.
where people from different disciplines share their work
Right.
and their insights.
Yeah.
They prioritize hiring people from diverse backgrounds and experiences. And even their workspace is designed to encourage interaction and collaboration.
It's not just about having the right people.
Right.
It's about creating the right culture and environment.
Exactly.
What's fascinating is that these secret ingredients aren't really secrets at all.
Right.
They're actionable steps that anyone can take, regardless of their industry or organization.
Totally. And it's about being intentional about fostering cross-pollination,
Yeah.
creating opportunities for people to connect and share ideas, and building a culture that values diversity and collaboration.
So are there any opportunities for cross-pollination in our listeners' own work or lives?
I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
There are probably connections waiting to be made that could spark exciting new innovations.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah,
I think there are definitely opportunities out there.
For sure.
We just need to look for them.
exactly.
All right, so we've talked about the experimenter. We've talked about kids as innovators. We've talked about the cross-pollinator.
Yeah.
That's 3 of our innovator personas.
Okay.
We've got a couple more to get to.
Sounds good.
But first, we need to take a quick break.
Okay. Yeah, it's amazing how a simple shift in perspective can unlock so much potential.
Right.
Instead of seeing limitations as roadblocks, the cross-pollinator sees them as opportunities
Yeah.
for creative problem solving.
And that leads us perfectly into our next persona, the hurdler.
Okay.
These are the individuals who thrive on constraints. Overcoming obstacles with grit and determination.
Right.
They don't just find a way.
Uh-huh.
They often come up with the most ingenious solutions when resources are limited.
Their motto is, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And they truly embody that spirit.
Uh-huh.
They're resourceful,
Right.
determined,
Yeah.
incredibly adaptable,
Mm-hmm.
turning lemons into lemonade, as they say.
The book had this great story about Richard Branson
Oh, yeah?
securing seatback videos for Virgin Airlines
What?
by leveraging an economic recession.
Oh, wow.
He turned what seemed like a disadvantage
Right.
into this win-win situation.
It's a classic example of hurdler thinking,
Yeah.
seeing an opportunity where others saw only constraint.
And let's not forget Lexus,
Oh, right.
who turned a potential quality issue into a brand-building moment
Uh-huh.
by providing exceptional on-site service to every owner.
Right.
So they turned this challenge
Yeah.
into a positive customer experience.
Exactly.
And it highlights how going above and beyond can be so powerful
For sure.
in building trust and loyalty.
Now, hurdles come in all shapes and sizes,
Yeah.
both external and internal.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a lack of funding
Mm-hmm.
or a sudden market shift.
Yeah.
Other times it's navigating internal bureaucracy
Right.
or overcoming resistance to new ideas within a company.
And the book had this fascinating example of internal hurdling
Oh, yeah.
with the story of 3M,
Okay.
the company behind everyday essentials like Post-it notes,
Right.
masking tape,
Mm-hmm.
and Scotch tape.
It's amazing to think that those products almost never made it to market.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Richard Drew, the inventor of those products, truly embodies the Hurdler spirit.
Uh-huh.
He faced so many obstacles within his own company
Really?
to bring his innovations to life.
Like what?
Well, first there was the pressure to stick to the expected tasks.
Mm-hmm.
His superiors wanted him to focus on improving sandpaper,
Okay.
but he saw a much bigger opportunity in developing tape.
So he wasn't really listening to his superiors.
Kind of, yeah. He had his own vision.
Yeah.
And then he had to get around company bureaucracy
Uh-huh.
when he requested funds for a paper-making machine
Right.
to produce his tape.
Yeah.
He was initially denied.
Oh, wow.
But did that stop him?
I have a feeling it didn't.
Not at all.
What did he do?
He found a workaround.
Okay.
He purchased the machine in small increments
Huh.
to avoid raising red flags.
That's classic hurdler tenacity.
Yeah.
He was so passionate about his ideas
Uh-huh.
that he was willing to bend the rules a little bit
Yeah.
to make them happen.
And it's also interesting that he had to overcome initial failures.
Oh, really?
Like, Scotch tape wasn't an immediate success.
Oh,
It
yeah.
took time for people to discover its many uses.
Wow.
But he persevered, and his innovations ultimately revolutionized
Yeah.
the way we live and work.
That's so cool.
Drew's story reminds us that innovation isn't always about overnight success.
Right.
It often requires a long-term vision, a willingness to adapt, and the persistence to stay the course even when faced with setbacks.
I like that.
Now, while hurdlers are known for their determination and their ability to push through obstacles, they also understand the importance of strategic thinking.
Yeah.
And the book highlights a great example of this
Oh, yeah.
with Kevin Masurdi,
Okay.
who was an internet entrepreneur who wanted to change the way we read magazines.
Interesting.
He initially approached IDEO with the idea of creating a dedicated hardware device
Okay.
for digital magazines.
Got it.
So IDEO, being the innovative thinkers that they are,
Yeah.
started prototyping the device. But as they delved deeper into the project,
Yeah.
they realized that focusing on hardware might not be the best approach.
So they had to change of plans.
Yeah, they kind of had to pivot.
Interesting.
It's a great example of how sometimes the most innovative solution
Uh-huh.
involves taking a step back
Right.
and reassessing the path forward.
So what did they...
They recognize the challenges of entering the hardware market,
Yeah, that makes sense.
especially with a new device.
Right.
So they had the courage to pivot,
Right.
shifting their focus from a hardware solution to a software solution.
So they changed their whole approach.
Yeah, and they worked with McSurdy to develop this software experience
Okay.
for online magazine subscriptions, which ultimately led to the creation of Zinio,
Oh, wow.
which is this highly successful platform for digital magazines.
That's amazing.
It's fascinating how they didn't abandon the vision,
Right.
but they adapted their approach to find a more viable path to success.
Yeah. Sometimes innovation requires flexibility
Yeah,
and a willingness to change direction when needed.
absolutely. Speaking of thinking outside the box,
Okay.
The book tells a story about Cargill,
Hi.
which is a global food company
Yeah.
facing this unique challenge in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Due to an economic crisis, there wasn't enough currency in circulation to pay cotton farmers for their crops.
That's a huge problem.
It is a huge problem.
Yeah.
But in the face of this seemingly insurmountable hurdle, they found a creative solution.
What did they do?
Instead of throwing in the towel,
Okay.
Cargill, embracing that hurdler spirit, printed their own money.
They printed their own money.
Well, not actual currency,
Okay.
but bearer checks that functioned as currency
Wow.
in the local economy.
That's incredible.
It's amazing how they identified this critical need
Yeah.
and devised a creative way to address it, even if it meant venturing into uncharted territory.
Right. They didn't let the constraints of the situation limit their thinking.
Exactly.
They found a workaround that benefited everyone involved.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most innovative solutions come from challenging the status quo and finding creative ways to circumvent limitations.
And while we often associate innovation with speed and agility, sometimes the most groundbreaking innovations take time to develop.
Yeah. And even longer to be adopted.
That's true.
The book gives the example of micromills for making aluminum cans.
Okay.
This revolutionary technology, developed by Kaiser Aluminum, has the potential to disrupt the entire industry.
So tell me more about these micro mills.
Well, they're smaller,
Okay.
more efficient, and less expensive to build than traditional mills.
Wow.
They can even be located right next to bottling plants,
Oh, wow.
which reduces transportation costs.
That's amazing. So why haven't they taken over the industry?
Well, large-scale change often takes time. The aluminum industry has a substantial investment in its existing infrastructure.
Right.
And transitioning to a new technology is a complex process.
It's a good reminder that true innovation isn't always about instant gratification.
For sure.
Sometimes it requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to play the long game.
And let's not forget the personal side of hurdling.
Okay.
The book tells a heartwarming story.
Oh, yeah. About a former Polaroid employee named Sid Whittier.
Okay.
He had designed an innovative shutter mechanism for a new camera, but his idea was initially rejected.
Oh, wow.
Even though he was semi-retired and already a millionaire from his Polaroid stock,
Really?
Sid continued to work on his design in his spare time.
That's dedication.
Oh, no, right?
He truly believed in his idea and wasn't going to let it go.
Wow.
And as luck would have it, the chosen design proved impractical.
Oh, no.
And Polaroid was faced with this major setback.
So what happened?
That's when Sid stepped in.
Okay.
He presented his fully developed shutter design, which ended up saving the day.
Wow. That's a fantastic story about perseverance.
Yeah.
And the importance of following your passion, even when others might doubt you.
Sometimes the greatest innovations come from those individuals who are willing to go the extra mile, even when they seemingly have nothing to prove.
It's inspiring to see that level of dedication and belief in one's own ideas.
So the hurdler persona beautifully illustrates how to turn challenges into opportunities.
So sure.
They demonstrate that with the right mindset, resourcefulness, and a bit of ingenuity. Even the most difficult obstacles can be overcome.
The key takeaways here are be resourceful, be persistent, be adaptable, and never give up on your vision. There's always a way forward, even when the path isn't clear.
Now, shifting gears a bit, let's move on to our final innovator persona for this deep dive, the collaborator. These are the people who excel at bringing people together, fostering teamwork, and building a shared vision. They understand that innovation rarely happens in isolation.
That's so true.
Yeah. It's amazing how that collaborator persona really brings home the idea that innovation is a team sport. They know how to tap into the collective genius of a group and create an environment where everyone feels empowered to contribute.
They understand that great ideas can come from anyone. And that a diverse range of perspectives is essential for truly innovative solutions.
And the book tells a story about how IDEO itself was born out of a collaboration.
Oh, real?
Yeah, it started as a small engineering firm called David Kelley Design. But David Kelley realized that to achieve his ambitious goals, he needed to bring in expertise from other disciplines.
That makes sense.
So he orchestrated a merger with two other design firms, IDEO and Matrix Product Design.
Got it.
And that's how IDEO, as we know it today, was born.
Wow. So it was a collaboration from the very beginning.
Yeah, this collaboration brought together this powerful mix of designers, engineers, and thinkers, creating this true powerhouse of innovation.
So cool. And that commitment to collaboration extends beyond IDEO's internal structure.
Right.
They're known for partnering with companies from all sorts of industries to tackle diverse challenges.
Like they've helped hospitals improve patient experiences,
Right.
worked with automakers to design innovative vehicles, and even partnered with universities to transform the learning process.
It's interesting that they see collaboration as more than just a way to work with clients.
Right.
It's fundamental to their approach to innovation.
Yeah.
They believe that the best solutions emerge from bringing together diverse perspectives and working together towards a common goal.
And the book highlights a really inspiring example of collaboration between Kraft Foods and Safeway, two companies you wouldn't necessarily think of as being on the cutting edge of innovation.
Right.
And it all started with this simple goal to improve their vendor-managed inventory system.
Okay.
But as they started working together, they realized they could achieve much more.
Like what?
They decided to break down the traditional barriers between vendor and retailer.
And take a fresh look at their entire supply chain.
Wow.
They even brought in IDEO to help facilitate the process.
So they had some outside help.
Yeah. Together, they embarked on this journey of joint innovation. They held brainstorming sessions, formed task forces, and conducted experience audits to better understand each other's operations.
So they really did their homework.
Yeah, and one of their key breakthroughs was this idea of cross-docking.
Cross-docking?
Where products are transferred directly from the supplier's truck to the retailer's truck.
Okay.
Bypassing the need for warehousing.
Interesting.
This streamlined approach reduced handling costs and made their entire supply chain much more efficient.
So it was a win-win.
Yeah, and their collaboration didn't stop there.
What else did they do?
They went on to develop this joint scorecard to track their progress and measure their performance.
Got it.
Their success actually earned them industry recognition.
Setting a new standard for vendor-retailer relationships.
That's amazing. It really highlights how much can be accomplished when companies put aside their traditional adversarial roles and embrace a collaborative mindset.
It's a powerful example of how collaboration can lead to win-win solutions that benefit everyone involved.
And this collaborative spirit isn't limited to external partnerships. It's equally important within organizations.
Exactly. The book talks about this concept of cross-training, where employees from different departments have the opportunity to learn from each other and gain a broader perspective of the business.
It's about breaking down silos and encouraging people to step outside their comfort zones. When employees from different departments understand each other's roles and challenges, they're better equipped to collaborate and come up with innovative solutions that benefit the entire organization.
And IDEO has really championed this concept of unfocused groups.
Unfocused groups?
As a way to foster collaboration and cross-training. So unlike traditional focus groups, which usually involve gathering feedback from a specific target audience, unfocused groups bring together people from all walks of life. With diverse backgrounds, perspectives, and passions.
Interesting. So it's less about market research.
Yeah.
And more about inspiration and exploration.
Exactly.
They provide a safe space for sharing ideas, prototyping solutions, and gaining a deeper understanding of human needs and desires.
For example, the book mentions a project focused on shoe design. Where IDEO brought together a lounge singer who loved shiny loafers, a mom who cherished her thigh-high leather boots, and a firewalker who swore by his sandals.
What an interesting group of people.
And they asked these participants to prototype shoes that represented different themes like relaxation secrets and invisibility.
So they were thinking outside the box.
Yeah, and the results were incredibly insightful, offering this fresh perspective on shoe design that went beyond functionality and aesthetics.
That's so cool. It's a great example of how tapping into diverse perspectives, even from seemingly unrelated fields, can spark creativity and lead to unexpected innovations.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of innovation, let's revisit that key takeaway. Innovation isn't some magical process reserved for a select few.
Right.
It's a mindset, a way of approaching the world with curiosity, creativity, and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
And these innovator personas we've explored, the experimenter, the kid as innovator, the cross-pollinator, the hurdler, and the collaborator, they each demonstrate that innovation can manifest in different ways, depending on individual strengths and preferences.
So the key is to be aware of your own strengths and lean into them.
Right.
Maybe you're drawn to rapid experimentation. Or perhaps you thrive in collaborative environments.
Or maybe you're a master at turning constraints into opportunities.
The important thing is to find what works best for you.
Right.
And to apply those approaches to your own life and work.
And remember, innovation isn't about having all the answers or following a set formula.
Right.
It's about asking the right questions, being open to new possibilities, and having the courage to bring your ideas to life.
So as you go about your day, keep these personas in mind.
Okay.
Look for opportunities to experiment, collaborate, hurdle over challenges, and draw inspiration from the world around you.
And remember, innovation is within everyone's reach.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of embracing a mindset of possibility and taking that first step.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of innovation.